Hey, it's Meg. Welcome back to my channel. So for today's junk journal with me, I am working on the prompt junk mail from the Junk Journal January challenge. And I think this is one of my favorite prompts from the challenge. It's quite a simplistic one, like a quite literal prompt, but I love working with like junk mail envelopes within my journals. I use them as well in the Junk Journal July prompts and just generally within my journals. I think they're quite a versatile thing to use. I love the envelope window sort of section. I think you can do a lot with that. I love to use that as almost like a framing piece. You can make pockets. You can also just use the kind of paper from the envelope as well, particularly if there's something interesting going on. You can sort of collage on them or tea dye them like I am going to. There's loads of different ways you can do that, and they're a great thing to collect because you always tend to come across these envelopes in your post one way or another, and often I will ask people to collect them for me as well, which is why you'll notice that the envelope that I have up to the right hand corner there leaves something to be desired with opening, but that's fine because I really just wanted the window section. Now, this isn't the envelope that I actually end up using within this page, so you'll see me here folding and trying to get like a really nice section of this, getting rid of all the torn edges. I'm sizing it up correctly, thinking about where I want the window to be placed in relation to my journal page. You'll see it's the perfect height for the page that I'm about to pop it on. And what I wanted to do with this was to create a pocket that was also like a flip out, so I could extend some of the page as well. So you'll see there I thought maybe I could just stick it on, but then I thought no, I'll make it into a pocket and then flip it out. And obviously that's really stark white against everything else that I've got going on in my journal. So what I thought I would do would be to kind of stain it a bit with just some coffee. So I grabbed my paintbrush and some coffee and put some on just around the edges, just to kind of knock back some of that white. Now here's another envelope. So what I did off camera, stupidly, was I took that and I thought, right, I'm filming, I need to dry this. So what I always do when I've got papers that I need to dry is that I grab my hairdryer and just start drying them. Now you see where this is going. So obviously there's the film, like the plastic film, that's the window of the envelope. And as I'm drying it, I think I looked away for like a split second. Next thing you know, the whole envelope had like completely melted and wrinkled up and bunched up, and I completely ruined it. So luckily I had another envelope waiting in the wings. But yeah, let your envelopes dry naturally. If you've got plastic, you probably already know this, but I just thought I would share because I made that mistake, and I just thought I would keep it in just to show you guys that it's not all perfect here. So this is my second attempt. I could have pretended that this was my first attempt, but it wasn't. It was my second attempt, and this one, it was a similar style. So I still coffee dyed it, and then I left it to dry naturally, and this is what we have here. So the sort of pattern that a lot of envelopes have for security, it's quite interesting, but for this, I wasn't really fussed by it. I thought it was a bit too dark. Didn't think there was really anything that I could do with it. Just didn't really like the look of it. So what I decided to do was to take some of this like aged book paper, which had a really nice colour to it, and decided to just use that to create a kind of backing. So it's kind of plain because I really didn't want anything to detract too much, because I knew I was going to come in and kind of make a bit of a focal feature around the window. So I didn't want anything to be too kind of intricate and kind of take away from that. So that's why I just decided to keep the background plain. Plus it's just a pocket anyway, so I was going to be tucking something in there, but just so that when I took it out you couldn't see like the security kind of texture. And then all I did was secured it down with some clear sellotape, and I like to use this instead of washi sometimes if I don't want that kind of division almost that kind of tipping things in with washi can create. So like on here, it's a lot more subtle with this one because it's just kind of a simple pattern, but you can see how sometimes if you tip things in with maybe a washi that is more one color, it can kind of divide your page. So I like to use sellotape in instances where I want to kind of create a more seamless, continuous look. So here I'm playing around with these florals that I cut out at the beginning and just sort of seeing how I wanted them on this envelope. So one thing that I did was had the florals in front of and behind the window to kind of create a bit of dimension, and I did like how that looked, but in the end I just decided that I wanted to create a little cluster on the kind of corner at the front of the envelope, and I think this just kind of frames then the pocket and the window that we have. So I used some crumpled brown paper just to add some texture in the background. And then I added a tag just to have something more central for the flower to be positioned on. And I just think this adds some really nice contrast and sort of brings everything together, especially with the flower on top. And I really like how this flower kind of goes in like the corner and kind of really emphasizes that kind of curve that we've got of the window of the envelope. And then I just wanted to add a little bit more kind of texture and interest, so I brought in some of my kind of coffee stained tissue paper and just added that in the background. I did toy with kind of putting it on top of the floral to create maybe something that was like pushed back, but in the end I just decided to add that into the background. So it's not a huge kind of element to add, but it's just one of those things that adds a little bit more texture. And then I came in with my corner rounder. I feel like I use my corner rounder all the time lately. I just think on certain elements it adds a really nice touch to my page. So next I needed to create the element to go inside of the pocket, and I just decided to create kind of a large journal card, I guess, with some kind of collage and stitching on it. And I was just testing out here what the other floral would look like kind of glued on, and I was really looking at the positioning because I did like the idea of having one of the florals kind of behind the window to act as that kind of dimension for my page. So then I came in with a stamp just to add as a element maybe for a little bit of journaling or date stamping, something like that. And then decided to add some of my stitching just to the top of the card. This wasn't really kind of for anything other than a little bit of decoration and texture. I've just been really enjoying adding little stitched elements to my page, and just adding this kind of as a trim almost along the top was just a nice way to add some more detail and intricacies to my page in a relatively simple way. Like I didn't have to get really involved, it was just kind of a simple stitch along the top with some pale pink thread just to tie in as well with the pink of the flower that we have on the front. And I'm adding a little extra label there, which kind of seems odd given that I've already just stamped a label on, but the ink that I used wasn't settling over the kind of shiny image of the florals, so I just decided to add a stamp over the top just so that you couldn't see all the smudging that I'd done when I was doing my stitching. And here I'm just going through some little botanical like illustration stickers, and I just wanted to add one of these on to kind of work in more of that kind of collage cluster element. And you'll see here I always end up trying to peel up something because I've realized I want it to go underneath so that the label stands out, but that label was not for shifting, so I decided to stick it over the top anyway, and I kind of off-centered it slightly and then just trimmed off the excess so that I didn't kind of cover the original stamp that I had done. Then I'm adding a little scrap of that stamped paper, again just for a little bit of interest and to create that kind of scrappy collage element of this journal card. And so I'm kind of focusing all my elements up in this top left hand corner, so that the bottom section of this card I have free to do my journaling, and that way I'm not kind of getting in the way of any of the elements that I've got, and I can really work on kind of layering things and seeing how they all come together. And throughout I keep kind of putting it back in the pocket just to see how things are looking once you put them in the window. And then finally I just added my date stamp with my just regular office date stamp, and that is the finished result. So I hope you enjoyed watching along with me. Hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye guys.